Eye on Gauteng, brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Economic Development.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Eye on Gauteng. I'm Lionel Skink. Thanks for joining us. Now, the show, Eye on Gauteng, investigates the business, investment and economic story of Africa's biggest economy, the Gauteng province. Now, the gambling industry is big business in South Africa today. The industry generates about 15 or 16 billion rand a year. Of this figure, Gauteng-based gambling establishments are responsible for about 40% of that revenue. Gauteng's casinos make about 605 million rands per month. Now, that's 2% of Gauteng's monthly revenue spent on gambling. Tonight, we take a look at this industry, and we want to find out the socio-economic impact of the gambling industry. Now, joining me to discuss this topic is the Chief Executive of the Casino Association of South Africa, Derick Auret, the Acting CEO of the Guateng Gambling Board, Ndanduleni Makhari, and Dr. Stephen Rule. He's a research consultant with Fresh Thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. I want to start with you, Ndanduleni. Right now, the gambling industry has grown in leaps and bounds since legalization in 1995. What do you think is the main reason for that?
The main reason is that the economy itself is growing. You know, it's not about people taking their money to go and gamble. There are a lot of things. You take the revenue, which is being contributed by the industry, the tax which government is getting through the tax which we collect from the casinos. I think I also have to indicate that it's not about the casinos only. We have got 7 casinos in Gauteng. We have got almost 80 horse racing and betting, which we call them bookmakers. We have got 10 bingo operators and 1 totalizer in Gauteng. So you can imagine the size of that. It will definitely grow the economy. And also the type of infrastructures which we get. You know, the tourists come and enjoy the Gauteng as a whole.
All right, now the Guateng Gambling Board, of which you're the acting CEO, is in charge of the gambling industry in this province. Yes. What are the visions and the plans for the gambling industry as far as Gauteng is concerned going forward?
Going forward, our mandate will still be the same, will not change, which is basically to license and the individuals and the entities who are involved in gambling activities. We are also responsible for the registry of individuals. What you must understand is that you are not allowed to participate in gambling industry if you are not registered. The other thing is the approval and registering of the gaming machines. You know, each and every machines, the game need to be registered. We are also responsible for the compliance of laws and regulation which relates to gambling. And also we collect revenue, as I've already indicated. We also collect and administer the sports betting revenue to assist the sports within the country. And we also ensure that we advise our executive authority, which is our MEC, in terms of all the gambling activities. So the vision and the mission, we don't see it changing going forward. It will remain the same. I think what is critical is to ensure that you know, we continue doing what we are supposed to do, more specifically also dealing with illegal gambling so that we don't kill those who are the industry on those people who are legalized. All
right, I'm going to bring you in, Derick. The gambling pie, as we know, as Ndanduleni has spelled out, there's a lot of other activities, but the casino element is about 80% of that revenue. We've reached almost saturation, haven't we, as a country, in terms of casino licenses?
Well,
yeah, please.
Yes, I think you're quite right. We have an allocation of, or a decision to award 40 licenses in this country, of which 38 are operational at the moment. There are 2 outstanding in 2 provinces in this country. I would say that from an industry perspective, we do not think that more casino licenses would be appropriate for the gambling propensity and for the gambling population in South Africa. So 40 casinos is more or less right. And government has really, through its legislation and through the regulatory agencies which it has, actually gotten it right. The industry recognizes, and internationally it is also recognized, that the regulatory regime which has been established is world-class, no question about it. And we as an industry have a very good working relationship with the various gambling boards. We do think that it is actually quite difficult to deal with 10 boards, because that is, if you're an operating in all 9 provinces in South Africa, you actually have to deal with 9 different gambling boards, which sometimes can be a challenge. But then one must consider that there has recently been a governmental review through the Gambling Review Commission, which has made certain recommendations which we hope will lead to a greater sense of uniformity amongst all the provinces. And I know the provinces as well are working towards that goal.
Let's look at some of the figures, Derick. 16 billion almost in the last financial year. That's a lot of money. And the Gauteng province is responsible for quite a lion's share of that. Why do you think that is so?
Well, look, gambling is a function of the disposable income which people have, and it is a form of entertainment. People use their disposable income either to go to restaurants or to the theatre or to cinemas or gambling. So that is where it stems from. The figure of 16 billion, if you just mention that, is a huge number. But you must not forget that is not what people lose. Between 90 and 95% of that figure, and also in Gauteng, between 90 and 95% of the 7 billion, I think it is returned to the public or returned to the player in terms of what he wins at a casino. So while it is an astronomical figure, the more important figure is the taxes and the levies which that generates. And in all, in all cases in South Africa, income from gambling revenue is the second largest source of own revenue for provinces, I think only after motorcar licenses. But that is the second largest source of own income and therefore very important for all the provinces. So one has to look at it from that perspective. And that allows provinces to build roads, to have good education systems, and to use that income, which they would not otherwise have had. And also obviously relieves the pressure on the national government to supply funds to provinces.
Well, let's get Dr. Rule in this. I mean, you are with the Fresh Thinking, you're a consultant. You've done a monumental study on the Gauteng gambling industry, the social economic impacts. And I want to bring you in here with regards the social economic impacts. What would you say regarding the importance of the gambling industry socially and economically?
Well, from what other speakers have said, it sounds very glossy and positive, and to a large extent it is. There are economic benefits in fact, but it does come at a huge personal cost to a small proportion of the population. I think it's between 1% and 2% of people are what one could call problem or pathological gamblers who do have huge problems in controlling themselves in their gambling habit. And what was quite significant in our research for the Guateng Gambling Board last year was that 69% of people say that their motivation for gambling is a desperate need to win some money, and only 30% do it for entertainment, for fun. And I think 1% said they're professional gamblers. So there is a huge personal cost to some people. And I've personally sat in some groups with Gamblers Anonymous, and there are people who have lost their houses and their cars and their families and their wives, and so there is a cost, but I think the industry tries to do their best to help them.
I think let's bring Ndanduleni in here, because I think he's speaking about the human cost that's associated with excessive gambling, and your mandate is also to look after that, is it not?
Yes, it is. I think I need to start with what you have said, that it's not about the money which people are taking to the casinos and gambling. In terms of our law, we have got the 80-20 on the casino side. So you as a punter, during the process, you will end up winning 80%, and the casino will only keep on 20%. Currently, the statistics which I've checked from 1999 to date, the average is 95%. So you can basically say the industry is keeping 5%, and the 95% is being kept by punters. The biggest challenge is that you go there, you play, you win, and people don't stop. So if in average,
winning is addictive, eh?
Yeah, it's very addictive. But then you compare it to alcohol, it's worse. You compare it to smoking. So, like you said...
Which is the better one, alcohol or gambling?
Currently, the study says gambling is still better because it's sitting at 1.2%. If you check the revenue which is being generated, through the gambling activities, what does the revenue does? It goes back to the service delivery to the community. For the past year, as Guateng Gambling Board, we collected tax amounting to around 521 million. And in total, the gross gambling revenue was over 6 billion for Gauteng only. And if you check the job creation, currently we are sitting at around 25,000 direct and indirect jobs. The current year statistics were saying direct jobs were over 11,800. So you need to compare the two. Overall, I would say that, it's not a bad entertainment for those who regard it as a bad entertainment. If you check your adult people, it's a concern to the government that adult people go to the casino and play. But others will argue it out to say, what do we do? We have retired, we are 60 years, we can't just sit at home, we need to have something. So yes, for those who are addicted to gambling, it's a problem. But on the other hand, as Gauteng Gambling Board, we have partnered with National Responsible Gambling Board program to deal with issue of those who are problem gamblers. On the 6th of August, together with our MEC, Ndanduleni Makhari, we have launched a special program for Gauteng, which is separate from your National Responsible Gambling program. So to deal with the people who are addicted to gambling.
Now, Derick, just very quickly, you want to jump in on this whole responsible gambling thing?
Yes, I would like to actually, because yes, it is true there are people who have problems with gambling. Fortunately, they are in a very, very small minority, between 1 and 1.2%, which, if you turn it around, indicates that 98.8% of people don't have a problem with gambling. It is not in the industry's interests to have problem gamblers on its property or to come and gamble at its properties. And what the industry did, and it recognized it at a very, very early stage, was that we had to put in place some kind of program which would be there to help gamblers who develop problems. And we therefore created the National Responsible Gambling Program, which is recognized worldwide as a cutting-edge government-private sector partnership to deal with this issue. And I think that has, to a very large extent, been responsible for the fact that the level of problem gamblers in South Africa is at the low percentage which we have at the moment.
Okay, great. Just before we go to the break, Dr. Rule, the gambling industry as it is in Gauteng in South Africa, is it sustainable going forward?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably sustainable. There's plenty of clientele out there. The proportion of Gautengers who say they have gambled in the last 3 months was 44%, if I remember correctly. So there's plenty of interest. Yeah.
And primarily you say because of as a solution to poverty, but we'll talk a little bit more about that after the break.